we had just finished Waterfront Park in Boston, and the bicentennial was a smash hit, and an RFP came out for a master plan for the historic peninsula of Charleston. It was not for a specific waterfront park, but it was a master plan for the peninsula. The interview was exciting. You know why? Because Mayor Riley was there, and what a guy. And what was fun, of course, is that we were selected. And I think Mayor Riley liked the interdisciplinary team. But what he did, because he had been impressed with Jack Robertson, who also interviewed, and Ed Pinckney of Charleston, who also had interviewed, that he decided to marry the two of them to us. Essentially, the master plan placed a high priority on turning this little piece of land, this beautiful piece of land on the Cooper River, into a green space, because it had been used for years as a parking lot, and a road built in the 50s, as you might guess, called Concord Street, which actually you could have a picnic during rush hour and you wouldn't have a problem in the middle of Concord Street. But it should never have been built in the first place. So that site was selected. 2 years that it took to design the parking garages and get them built was 2 more years to think about the design of the park. We had a chance to reflect, reconsider the form and the emerging importance of the streets that connect the downtown to the waterfront, which were actually the foundation or the origin of the piers that used to penetrate the Cooper River. And those became more and more important. So the east-west vectors emerged during that period, during the garage period, as the most important things in giving form to the design of the park. And the overlay of all this, an important overlay was that shade is really important in the city of Charleston. The summer is when all the tourists come, and it's a very hot climate. So shade structures on one of the piers, a shade structure on one of the piers, and then a grove of 4 oaks away from the waterfront toward the city were the 2 ways that we could provide shade for almost everyone within the park. And again, it was a very simple decision in a way. Things were done formally against the city, and more formally informally against the waterfront. Transition, a little bit like Waterfront Park in Boston. The park was not completed until 1980. And that is when Hurricane Hugo happened to hit the coast, and of course destroyed quite a lot of the park, which had to be rebuilt. Happily, the fountain and the 4 Oak Grove and everything above the flood wall the palmettos were gone, or had suffered saltwater damage, but by and large the park survived Hugo and was dedicated later that year. And to this day, I think the park is just as successful as it was the day the doors opened. And by the way, I think the important message in all of this, and this is Jack Robertson at his best, and Holly White and all the other great urbanists that we've had the privilege of knowing and working with, is that the park wasn't seen as just a park. It really was thought of as a catalyst for private investment, and that really did work with this construction of this park. It really triggered a massive amount of, I call it, sensitive adjacent development of buildings that really fit the mood of Charleston and fit the mood of the waterfront. And so it was really a kind of a nice business deal as much as it was a great social and cultural success.